All right, one question for each game. Let's start with Cincinnati. Nope, let's start with Cleveland at Baltimore. My bad. How much do you like the Cleveland wide receivers and tight ends, Heath, at Baltimore?
Well, I guess this is as good a time as any. I should have said Harold Fannin was a player I loved. I'm starting. I have both of the Browns tight ends in the top 12.
Wow.
And it's a couple of things. One, like I have a hard time with the Harold Fannin usage in week 1, but the more that I look at what he did his final year in college, including against Texas A&M and Penn State, and then what he did in week 1, I don't want to bet against that guy. And David Njoku, like if Joe Flacco's averaged 42 pass attempts per game and wants to get the ball out of his hand as quick as possible so he doesn't get hit. So it might be that both tight ends have 8 targets in this game. Jerry Jeudy's a number 3 wide receiver. Cedric Tillman's a good flex.
And stat of the game here, Harold Fannin is 37% rostered in CBS leagues. 36% of that is Heath.
That's correct.
Oh, I might have more.
Oh yeah.
Jamey got him in a couple of leagues. I did add him in the FFT league where I drafted both Brock Bowers and Trey McBride.
Nice.
So now I have all 3 of them, probably the top 3 tight ends in the league.
I almost at 2 a.m. made Heath a trade offer where I picked up Fannin, and I have somebody that's still a starter because I did pick up Fannin in all my George Kittle leagues, but I was almost immediately like, nah, I don't want to do that at 2 a.m.
We do have. I've seen this question a lot this week, so I'm just going to pull it up. So basically, drop Dalton Kincaid for Harold Fannin. I would, and one of the big reasons that I chose Fannin over the Hunter Henrys and even for me, the Juwan Johnsons, is I think there's always going to be 3 or 4 of those guys who are projected to score 9 PPR fantasy points and might score 12 if they score a touchdown. Fannin's the one guy that if that usage from week 1 validates this week, holy cow.
Well, I don't want to get too off subject here, but I thought the usage for all 3 of the guys you mentioned, Fannin, Henry, Johnson, was all encouraging because, as I mentioned, Austin Hooper, very uninvolved in the passing game, didn't run a lot of routes, which was a difference from last year. And Juwan Johnson played 99% of the snaps, and they're pretty beat up at tight end right now. So I could make the case for all of them. I mean, we've seen so much of Johnson and Henry throughout their career that I think you take the chance on Fannin and see where it goes. But also, I think the one thing that bothers me just a little bit is that Cincinnati was the worst team against tight ends last year, like by far. So he did have that kind of a layup of a matchup.
But he's so unique, though, that he's not necessarily a tight end.
I said he was their slot receiver yesterday, and I overrated that. He had a 30% slot rate. So I'm sorry. That's high for a tight end. But
you have to almost treat him like hybrid third receiver tight end because, they always run a lot of 12 personnel, and he's going to be on the field a lot, which is what you want. And so I think just if you're looking at this, so for anybody that's just listening, it was Jeudy 8 targets, Tillman 8 targets, Fannin 9 targets, Njoku 6 targets. Like if you just want to just start with a baseline of 7 for all of them, I would probably put it at 8, but 7 for all of them. Like there's room for all of these guys to have decent floors. So like Jeudy was the worst at 5 for 66. If that's what you're getting from your, or I guess, I'm sorry, Njoku was worth 3 for 37. But if you're getting 5 for 66 from one of your tight ends, that is fantastic in PPR.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's good. Yeah.
So like I think Fannin and Njoku can do that.
Yeah.
We'll see. It's really one of the most intriguing storylines of week 2 and maybe the whole season. All right, New England at Miami. Are there any must starts in this game other than Devon Etienne?
It's hard to have Tyreek Hill on your roster and sit him.
That's what I was going to say. So yeah.
So you wouldn't sit him for Jerry Jeudy or Cedric Tillman.
So just to give you a peek into the show that you're not on, that you never promote, Thursday afternoons at 1 p.m. we're on CBS Sports Network, and it's basically a hybrid ranking show, start sit. And I pose the question to Heath and Dave every week, who's the toughest player to rank? And for me, that's Tyreek Hill, because the upside. I mean, we've
right.
seen it. We've talked about it, ad nauseum. But are we back in the same boat that we were a year ago where you're almost starting him by default every week, and then the one week you sit him, he goes crazy?
Yeah. All right, Jacksonville at Cincinnati. Who's the better Travis? Travis Hunter or Travis Etienne?
Etienne.
Follow-up question. We talked about Travis Etienne as a sell high yesterday. Why not put him in the buy high category?
I wouldn't call him a sell high, I don't think.
I think it was Dave's call, right? If I'm not mistaken. You're and it's the same thing like with Breece Hall. Like, so anytime you have a certain expectation for a player or a certain situation that you're a little concerned about, and that player goes nuts, right? You're trying to maximize the value of your team. So if Etienne was somebody that you drafted as a reserve, it's probably not the same case with Breece Hall, but like if Etienne's someone you drafted as a reserve and you really love your team, you should be trying to get something amazing for him, especially for somebody who's got some crappy running back situation. So I think that's where it comes in sell high. So yes, buy high, sell high. That may be his best performance. And so clearly the situation got better for him coming off that performance, which is something rare to see barring injury. But is this the best that he's going to do? You know, you talk about what the Browns just did against the Bengals. Like, he just did it against the Panthers. So he may do it again against the Bengals, but I think you just got to be a little concerned. Like, we may have just seen the best of Travis Etienne, so why not maximize it?
Yeah. Panthers were the best matchup last year, but they did play the entire season without Derek Brown. So I wanted to see if they and show any improvement, but they didn't. Buffalo's at the Jets. Starter sit Keon Coleman.
Speaking of the 1 p.m. show, I was really, really happy when I opened up the doc and saw, I think Jamey had Keon Coleman as a sit, because I didn't want to argue against him this week, but I agree. I'm sitting him for this week. And if he's the clear target leader again, then that probably changes.
I think he had the same amount of targets as Josh Palmer, didn't he? I think they both had 9.
That was
I had 11.
So when I woke up this morning,
okay, I'm sorry.
When I woke up this morning, it goes, I wanted to check Bo Nix fumbles and Keon Coleman versus Josh Palmer targets. I forgot to do both. I'm sorry.
Nobody does more research than Adam Azer.
No, you were right.
That honestly, for all the crap he gets, he's the most prepared person in the world.
Except I was wrong. Keon Coleman had 11, and Shakir and Palmer both had 9. You know, Palmer was wide open on a double move. He made a really nice move. He should have had a touchdown, and Josh Allen missed him. And I just wonder if instead of 5 for 61, he had 6 for like 75 and a touchdown or whatever. Josh Palmer's 19% rostered. I wonder where he'd be right now. But okay, anyway, Keon Coleman, we're trying to sit Heath. Sorry, my bad.
Yeah, no, I was going to say, I think probably the bigger thing that I didn't say in that whole discussion is they ran 78 offensive plays, and Josh Allen threw 46 passes, and we expect his normal pass total to be about 2/3 of that. So let's see one more week.
And Coleman had, I think, 3 targets in the first 3 quarters,
and potentially Sauce Gardner.
Mm-hmm. All right, so Tillman and Judy over Coleman.
For me, yes.
I think I have Tillman ahead and Coleman right behind.
And Judy ahead of both, yeah.
I'm sorry, Judy ahead, Tillman right behind Coleman.
Oh, okay. Philadelphia at Kansas City. Marquise Brown. Oh, well, this question I asked before I saw the Dallas Goedert news. Marquise Brown or Devontae Smith was the question.
Entirely determined by Dallas Goedert, I would say. If Dallas Goedert plays, then it's Marquise Brown. And if Dallas Goedert's out, then it's Devontae Smith.
Devontae Smith would be where if Goedert's out?
He's probably going to be really close to 24.
Okay. Chargers at Raiders. How many wide receivers in this game do you rank ahead of Omari and Hampton?
In full PPR, I think it's 2. So definitely Ladd McConkey and definitely Jacoby Myers in full PPR.
Do you think we're going to get, just real quick because we'll get into it later, kind of a different what does the Chargers offense look like in this game?
I think what we will learn about early on in this game is the Raiders' run defense, because New England threw a lot more passes than we expected, partially because they were chasing the score, partially because they were averaging like 2.5 yards per carry against the Raiders. If the Chargers have the run success that they had against the Chiefs, then I don't know that we see much of a different approach. If the Chargers build an early lead and have success running the ball, then we may go back to Greg Roman football.
Denver's at Indianapolis. Are you starting a Broncos running back?
No.
Dobbins is a flex. Harvey's a low-end flex. I hope you see what Harvey did, Sean Payton, and you're like, let's see more of that. Let's get a little bit more of that. Like, Dobbins is clearly a very solid running back, and probably, for as much as I love him, I undersold him and his potential role coming into the season because I was just so excited about Harvey. But you saw what he's still capable of doing last week. Can get you a tough yard, can obviously, grind out the clock, can make some plays in the passing game. But Harvey's just on a different level right now. Like, I don't understand why these things just frustrate me.
Tampa Bay is at Houston. Oh, by the way, I don't know if you saw Sean Payton's quote, but he was talking about how he took the blame for Bo Nix's interceptions and talked about how he's got to call plays differently. It sort of seemed like he was saying we need to run the ball more because they just kept throwing and throwing and throwing, especially early in the game. So we might see more runs this week. Tampa Bay at Houston. Mike Evans or Emeka Egbuka?
Evans.
Still Evans, but one more game of this. we might have Chris Godwin and Mike Evans again.
I'm sorry for interrupting. The reason why I asked was because I think Derek Stingley's going to follow him because that's what Stingley did in week 1.
I'm sorry, Heath. When you say he's going to follow him, who you refer to?
Evans for sure. Evans for sure. Because these guys they'll shadow receivers. They'll rarely go into the slot to shadow receivers. And
corners love big receivers.
Well, Stingley's a pretty big corner, so I did think this could be a struggle for Evans.
I think I'm a little bit lower on both. I'm a lot lower on Mayfield, and this is our last game of the day, right?
Yeah.
So Dave made me do some research this morning, so I'll just share it on this game. One of the things that has me frightened, and we talked about this with a lot of teams last week, most notably the Lions, who weren't quite this low. Tampa Bay's a 2.5-point underdog against the Texans, and it has a low over-under of 42.5, which means the Buccaneers have an implied total of 20. Last week, there were 8 teams that had an implied total below 21. 2 of them, the Jets and Steelers, were very good. 4 of them scored 13 points or less.
Interesting. Yeah, look, the Texans have a pretty legit defense. There's no question.
I think in the case of Baker, because I'm lower on him than I have been. I'm certainly not where Heath is. Do you want to make a ad drop to replace him this week? And so you're going to potentially see JJ McCarthy out there coming off a big game. You're going to see obviously the guys that we highlighted on the waiver wire, Aaron Rodgers and Daniel Jones and those guys. And Heath, you may have those guys ranked ahead of Baker, because of how your process works. I would not be looking to replace Baker. So like I have Baker, I think in 2 leagues, maybe. One's a dynasty league. I'm still starting him. The other one's a redraft league. I'm still starting him. I'm not expecting 28 points, but I think he can get to that 20-point threshold, but just not very much over that.
McCarthy was the one quarterback that I really wanted to pick up this week. I tried it in a couple leagues and was unsuccessfil. He's 80% rostered.
Thomas got him in everywhere.
Well, it's been 3 years in a row now that a Kevin O'Connell quarterback has been top 8 per game in 6-point per passing touchdown leagues. That's insane. And
3 years, including this year, you've already anointed him?
No, twice Cousins, once Darnold. So 4 years in a row now, Jamey. Thank you.
When you need your sports news all the time,
we've got breaking news to bring to you.
CBS Sports HQ gives you a snapshot of all the sports that matter to you. When you need your sports in a snap, find it on CBS Sports HQ, streaming free anywhere you are.
One question for each game. Chicago's at Detroit. How many wide receivers are you starting in this game?
St. Brown for sure. Javonte Williams, I like. He's at minimum a flex, if not a low-end number 2 wide receiver.
Who?
Jameson Williams. Hold on, let me have a little coffee. That'll help me a little.
Okay.
I saw it.
So Jameis,
give me life.
He's your second favorite receiver in this game?
Well, if I'm saying Javonte Williams, then I don't know who the hell I'm going with. I'm sorry about that. Jameson Williams is going to be my second favorite. I think I have Moore over Odunze in full PPR and Odunze over Moore in half and non-PPR. Those guys are flexes.
Okay. Atlanta's at Minnesota. Do you like a quarterback or a tight end in this game?
Well, Javonte Williams is certainly in play. I kind of like JJ McCarthy against Atlanta. I'm not convinced that the Falcons pass rush is that much better. So I liked what I saw from him in the fourth quarter. And I wonder if the Vikings can build on that, and they might need to, because this could end up being a decently high scoring game. So McCarthy's in play for me as a maybe start. Penix, I think, is a maybe start as well if he's got Darnell Mooney back. And it seems like Drake London's okay. He's been practicing this week. So I feel okay about him, but I like McCarthy a little bit more. I don't love Pitts if Mooney is playing. And I don't love TJ Hawkinson, but he is startable.
Okay, yeah, the Mooney injury obviously is going to determine how we feel about Kyle Pitts,
For sure.
as Dave just mentioned. Would you start JJ McCarthy or Baker Mayfield,
Baker.
Trevor Lawrence at the Bengals, or McCarthy against the Falcons?
I have Trevor higher.
Patrick Mahomes. Or
I have Mahomes higher. They're actually back to back in my rankings. Baker, Lawrence, Mahomes, McCarthy.
Yes, they are. I'm sorry about that. I hate when I do that.
No, why do you hate that?
When I ask you, this guy or this guy, and they're back to back, it's kind of like it's kind of a toss up.
Right, but at least you're not asking me JJ McCarthy or Daniel Jones or Spencer Rattler. You're asking legit questions. Who cares if they're back to back?
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you.
As long as I got an answer.
I needed that pick me up. Oh, who's next here? We got Los Angeles at the Titans. The Rams at the Titans.
Titans are an NFC home game.
So I'm glad you asked. I mean, I'm not really glad you asked, but I'll field this question. So I have to do, when there's a full week, 8 games on Thursday, 7 games on Friday. Because I know we have on Friday, we have to recap the Thursday game. So I always do one fewer game on Friday. We didn't have an equal amount of AFC and NFC home games this week. We had a lot more AFC home games than we had NFC home games. So I wasn't going to have 10 games on Thursday and 5 games on Friday to preview. So that's why I took 2 games that involved an NFC team and moved them to the Friday show.
So we're really disappointing people who were hoping to hear about the Rams-Titans game on Thursday's show.
Right.
Because they didn't get to hear that much about them. Okay, go ahead. What's your one question for that game?
Do you think we get bounce backs from Devontae Adams and Calvin Ridley?
Yeah, I think we do. I think it's going to be an easier matchup for Ridley. Certainly because the Rams play a lot more zone than man defense. I think that'll help Ridley find space to get open. And I still believe that he's got good timing and chemistry with Cam Ward. There was nothing in the game last week to make me think that wasn't a thing. I like that he had 8 targets in the game. I like that Devontae Adams was involved in the offense for the Rams. It was a tough matchup against Houston. Titans are going to be a sneaky tough matchup too, but I think that Devontae Adams can win against them. And I would start him as a number 2 wide receiver. I like Adams more than Ridley. They are not back-to-back in my rankings.
Yeah. Do you like Adams more than Jamison Williams?
I do have Adams 1 spot ahead of Jamison Williams.
Do you like Adams better than Javonte Williams?
Yes, regardless of format.
Actually,
PPR.
I'm gonna start. I'm starting Javonte in I think at least 2 leagues this week. You could see it, and we'll have a question about him shortly. San Francisco at New Orleans. Ricky Pearsall or Chris Olave?
It's Pearsall. He's got a huge opportunity. It's just with Mac Jones throwing to him. Had a little debate about this on our show on Sports Network about what should the expectations be for Ricky Pearsall, because on one hand, he should theoretically get a lot of targets. I mean, he's the healthiest receiver that the 49ers have. And we know that Mac Jones, what we saw from him last year with Brian Thomas Jr., he loves to just spam targets to his number 1 guy. It makes sense. It's what he did last year. I don't know if he's going to do that in this game. We know what the track record is of receivers with Kyle Shanahan, but circumstances might alter that. And so Pearsall is still a good start. I'd call him a flex at minimum. Wouldn't want to necessarily say that he's a must-start type of wide receiver, because if we know he's going to get a lot of targets, the Saints are going to know that he's going to get a lot of targets. And it's going to be pretty easy for them to keep a safety over the top of Pearsall so he doesn't beat them deep. And it is a downgrade at quarterback no matter how you slice it. And if the offensive line is a mess, if Trent Williams ends up not playing, or if he's at 70%, that's going to put more pressure on Mac Jones. And we've seen him when he's under pressure, he's not very good, just like most quarterbacks. And so I've got Pearsall ranked as a flex. I would start him over Olave, they could both get in the neighborhood of 8 to 10 targets in the game.
Giants and Cowboys. Rank these three players: Tyrone Tracy Jr., Javonte Williams, George Pickens.
Well, certainly Jamison Williams at the top of that list. All right, enough of that. I think Pickens and Javonte are close. I kind of like Javonte because of the matchup. I think he's going to get some opportunities just overall because the Giants will be not necessarily competing offensively. I know that the Cowboys defense losing Deron Bland is a problem. I think Javonte is a decent start at running back. He'll catch the ball a little bit. I'm going to give him the nod over Pickens just by a little bit. Pickens is next, and then Tyrone Tracy third.
The Giants allowed the second most rushing yards before contact per carry in week 1. They got plowed by the Commanders' offensive line. And I've now seen the Commanders' offensive line against a good defense, and it didn't really hold up. So I do think that's partially a Giants are bad stat, and it could be, a successful game for Javonte Williams. Obviously, he's not. I mean, I'm not like super jazzed to start him, but the Cowboys beat the Giants 13 times in a row. Dak Prescott has beaten the Giants. So
Adam,
what?
I think I want to change my mind.
Okay.
I think I'd rather start Pickens. I don't know if I have it in my guts to start Javonte Williams with a high amount of confidence.
Okay, but I'm starting him over Tracy.
I'll start him over Tracy as well. I'm really worried about the Giants holding up their end of the bargain in this game and the Cowboys not having to throw that much. But at the same time, there should be opportunities for Pickens. So if it's full PPR, I think Pickens is the answer, not Javonte.
All right, Seattle's at Pittsburgh. Who's your favorite running back in this game?
You know who it is? It's Zach Charbonnet, who seems like the best running back for Seattle right now. The only encouraging thing that I saw from Kenneth Walker last week was straight line speed. He's got that. But anytime he had to cut, I talked about this earlier in the week, it took him a while to like plant and go. And that makes me wonder if he's really not close to 100% with that foot. We know that Zach Charbonnet had more carries, certainly more playing time, and played on third downs. And I think he led the way on short yardage carries. I have to double check my notes on that. But I'd rather start him than Kenneth Walker, and I'd rather start Charbonnet over Jaylen Warren.
How about Charbonnet versus Javonte and Tracy?
I've got Charbonnet ahead of both of those guys.
Oh, wow. Interesting. Okay. Carolina at Arizona. How much do you like Kyler Murray this week?
I don't love him. He's startable, but I think I'd rather go with McCarthy. Certainly would rather go with Baker, Lawrence, and Mahomes.
Okay. 23 points or ish from Jaden Daniels last night. Do you think Kyler Murray beats that? 6 point per passing touchdown?
No, I think he falls just short.